Oh, goddamn, dude. What the fucking shit?
Why does that work
Why
so
does
well?
that work as well as it does? What the fuck?
Dude, we found our new intro music.
Oh, my God. What the fuck, dude?
Wow. Who knew?
Oh, okay. All right, then. All right.
Who the fuck knew? Is it that time again, guys? Is it time to do the deep fat fried game?
Yeah.
It is
I think it
indeed.
is.
Welcome back to the fried of deep fat.
Yeah.
Pink Floyd, The Dark Side of the Moon, TJ.
Dark side of the moon.
You know what that album's really about, TJ?
What?
It's about fucking space and time, TJ. And these things, and seeing things through the lens of fucking perception, man. That you look at things, TJ, you're looking at something right now. Yeah. How do you know that I know what you're looking at? I don't know what you're looking at.
How do you know
don't
he
know
doesn't know what you know that he knows
I
what
know.
you're looking
know
at?
That's the
what I
thing.
don't know.
I don't
Nobody
fucking know.
knows.
I mean, in Paul's mind, I could be a fucking egg or something, man. I don't know.
Wow.
Well, what is Scotty smoking over there?
Mind
I don't know,
blowing.
man. I have fucking thoughts,
Scotty
dude.
seems like his third eye has been opened.
I'm just saying, man. I don't know, Paul. I don't know. I mean, in your mind, like, I don't know what's going on in your brain, Paul.
No, you don't want to know.
That's what I'm saying, man. I don't fucking know, Paul.
Man,
Does
that's the only
does
thing
that wall
worse.
look like the same wall to you? I don't
Maybe.
know.
Maybe it does. I don't know. Who knows, man? Holy shit. That's some deep banter to start the show tonight. Mm-hmm. But you know what? We have a lot of show to get through.
Do we?
This is a long one
We
tonight.
should probably just jump right in, huh?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Unless you've got some more banter that you want to throw out, TJ.
I ain't got no damn banter.
I have one thing to say is that
Say it, Scotty.
when we did Canada,
Speak your truth.
I'll be honest with you guys, I was pessimistic. I went in there, I learned the facts, and just felt even more disgusted at the end of it. With knowing Paul was going to New Mexico, I just felt just a sense of relief. Because I know there's nowhere to go but up. There's no way Mexico is going to be as bad as Canada. It's impossible. It's literally impossible.
Well, interestingly, Scotty, you are correct in a number of ways. So go ahead and throw up that first picture there, TJ. Hola, compañeros y compañeras. 'Tis I, Pablo. If you will recall, my compadre, Scotty, recently took a look at our neighbors to the north, El Canada. In that show, Scotty focused on El Negativo, the negatives of Canada, and all the things that made Los Estados Unidos, I'm sorry, El USA, better. Now, far be it from me to criticize Scotty's angle of attack, but I shall not be doing that tonight. No! Tonight, I shall be celebrating the flavor, the spice, celebrating El Cultura de Mexico, our proud neighbors to the south. So put on your sombreros, gentlemen, whack your piñatas, roll your chimichangas tightly, and stuff them with savory meats and cheeses, for this is Mexico.
Woo, yeah! All right.
So,
Mexico!
thanks to Juan Carlos Pablo for the intro work. Go check him out on Instagram at Juan Carlos Pablo.
I do take exception with his characterization of my episode
Well-
in the respect that I was not pointing out negatives for Canada. I was reporting facts that are just, I was objective, and I looked at facts, Paul. And
Look,
I
when
hope
you-
tonight you did that as well.
When you work with an artist like Juan Carlos Pablo, you let him write his own material. You know what I mean?
I understand that. I mean, it might be hearing from my lawyer. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, Jacob.
Look, if,
You're gonna call Jacob
if
on
someone
him?
lies about me, Paul, I mean, look, I have to deal with it.
So, like most places on Earth, you could just go back into absurdly ancient times and talk about a million different, religions and civilizations that came and went. But when you're talking about what makes Mexico, Mexico, it really started, in my opinion and in the opinion of a lot of people, with the Aztecs. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Aztecs today to start off, so you know where these people came from. See, that's something Scotty didn't do. Scotty didn't care where these proud neighbors of ours came from. their origins, the soil from which they rose, Scotty. I'm telling you, when you're looking at Mexico, you can't ignore it. The Aztecs, nobody really knows like where they started generally, but they're believed to have begun as a northern tribe of hunter-gatherers whose name came from their homeland Aztlan, or White Land. TJ, you'll be happy to hear that. I know what a white supremacist
Land.
you are.
That's right.
In the Aztec, so the language that they speak was Nahuatl. And there's actually like almost 2 million people in central Mexico that still speak Nahuatl.
Cool.
And a lot of words from Nahuatl have been kind of adopted not only into the Spanish language, but into the English language as well.
Oh, really?
Such as what?
We'll get to that.
Such as
I'll
what?
give you a list in a few minutes.
Lies.
So the Aztecs were also known as the Tenochca,
The Noshka.
known for their capital city of Tenochtitlan, or the Mexica, the origin and the name of the city that would replace Tenochtitlan, as well as the name of the entire country. So they were actually known as the Mexica.
Mexica.
Ah, okay.
We are Mexica.
So this is kind of a cool piece of
Sweet.
15th century Aztec art.
Dude, I'd put that on my bookshelf.
I just want to say it right now. We have an origin story as Americans, you know, the origins of our country, and there's some metal elements to it. But I got to tell you, when it comes to metal origin stories, Mexico has always been the fucking hard ass of hard asses, dude. Their origin story is the most metal fucking shit you can think of. Maybe second only to the actual Vikings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they might actually surpass the Vikings in some people's minds.
What you doing, dead boy? Huh?
With that out of the way,
What? You gonna tell me man Mexican in there?
I ain't done nothing.
More better than me, man? You think some goddamn Mexican more better than mine, man? I'm gonna kick your damn fat old ass around, boy.
you gonna kick my fat ass?
I'm gonna kick that fat ass fucking hand $10 motherfucking too, man.
You say what you wanted to lick his fat ass?
Yeah, I'm gonna lick his fat ass, man.
Whoa.
Tell you to listen, man. You get some of that. That's a little fucking sexy chocolate, boy.
Are you done, DJ?
I guess.
Whoa. Got
No,
very
go,
sex-
please.
sexually explicit.
Scotty drove it in a strange direction.
Why did it get so gross?
Scotty's like, you want to lick his ass? I'm like, all right, I'll just go with that, I guess.
So,
But yeah, I'll see you later, Paul,
oh yeah. No, thanks.
for the ass licking.
Sure. I'll take it. So, like I said before, numerous Nahuatl words were borrowed by the Spanish and later absorbed into English, including chili,
Chili?
yeah, avocado,
Cool.
chocolate,
Oh, sweet.
coyote, peyote,
Guacamole?
ocelot, and mezcal. So a lot of drug names stuck
Sweet.
around. A lot of delicious foods stuck around.
I like chili, I like avocado, and I like chocolate.
And you would think that would make
And I like
sense.
chocolate,
if someone-
avocado, chili.
If someone hands you a thing that's like avocado, you're going to be like, oh, it's an avocado.
Yep.
Makes
Yeah.
sense.
That makes sense to me.
I don't know why any of these metal motherfuckers will hand you an avocado, but
So there's
they did.
there's tons of artist representations of the capital city of Tenochtitlan. This is one of them. I could have pulled any number. There's really no way to know exactly how it looked. Now we know some of the features of it, and some of them are represented here. The central temple very much looked like it's depicted here. And it was
So,
kind of
like,
a modern
yeah.
marvel. It was built on a lake. So the people that made this city actually moved all the earth required to create these little islands that you see on a lake in southern central Mexico, and used all this aqueduct system to travel on and to feed the city from the outside. It's just really like a marvelous technological achievement.
well, some of these pyramids still exist in South and Central America and stuff, in Mexico as well. That's like, and they're astonishing.
I don't know if you guys have ever actually seen them walk through these things. I mean, they're crazy huge.
Now, a lot of those pyramids that still exist are Maya pyramids or Olmec or Toltec pyramids. The Aztecs actually came about after winning a war with the Toltecs. So they kind of came after all of that, but very much took a lot of the religion and a lot of the building quality and stuff from those. In fact, their people kind of sprung forth from those people. So
it makes sense. If you look at the architecture, yeah, it makes total sense.
So they emerged as the dominant force in central Mexico, developing an intricate social, political, religious, and commercial organization that brought many of the region's city-states under their control by the 15th century. So they were really kind of the big power in that whole region of Mexico and Central America by the 15th century. You can go to the next picture.
I don't think I will.
Yeah, I think you should, TJ.
I don't think I will.
Yeah, this is just a little piece of art that if you ever kind of look at Aztec art, it's a lot of it is really pretty fucking astonishing, and there's a lot of really cool pieces that remain. Go ahead and go to the next picture there, TJ. Kind of shows you this is kind of south central Mexico, and this was kind of the spread of their culture, which is a pretty huge geographical area given, the...
Well, yeah, they had a large empire. Just looking at this, I mean, Mexico's not a small country, and it's extending down pretty far.
So a little bit about the flag of Mexico that we kind of looked at the beginning, and I think I pulled a picture of it here, yeah. So here's kind of a breakdown of the meaning of Mexico's flag. So when the Aztecs saw an eagle perched on a cactus on the marshy land near the southwest border of Lake Texcoco, or Texcoco probably, they took it as a sign to build their settlement. So they drained the swampy land, constructed artificial islands on which they could plant gardens, and establish the foundations of their capital city.
It's a pretty crazy idea, to look at a lake and be like, let's build a city on that.
Yep.
Not near it, on it. Damn it.
Well, dude, a lot of especially ancient cultures, like these kind of signs, especially with birds, were taken as like omens of this is like a good omen that we should build here.
Right. So that is still represented on Mexico's flag. The green on the Mexican flag, as you can see here, is for hope. The white stripe in the middle is for unity, and then the coat of arms represents the legend of how the Aztecs chose the site for their capital city, which eventually became Mexico City. So Mexico City now is literally built on the site of the ancient city of Tenochtitlan. And there's a lot of ruins in the middle of Mexico City that have been preserved. There's also the red on the Mexican flag, which is for the blood of the national heroes. So all the people that have shed their blood for Mexico over the many, many years.
And they'll keep on shedding it. They ever try to fuck with America.
Well, they're probably not going to do that. They're very, very dependent on America.
No.
Damn right they are.
So, like I said before, the Aztec faith shared a lot of aspects with the other Mesoamerican religions, the Maya, including what we're about to talk about in a minute, some human sacrifice stuff. This is, let's see, I'm trying, dude. Huitzilopochtli, the god of war and the sun. So this is kind of the Aztec representation.
Chipotle.
Yeah, wheat chipotle.
Wheat chipotle.
And then the next one is Quetzalcoatl.
Oh, shit. Quetzalcoatl.
Right. A feathered serpent.
Yeah,
a
dude.
Toltec god.
You
who
ever
served...
seen fucking that terrible movie, but that's awesome? Q the Winged Serpent, dude?
Yes.
That's based on Quetzalcoatl.
Quetzalcoatl, dude.
Yeah. Quetzalcoatl.
And then I think I pulled a picture of the temple.
Of Doom.
Yeah, the great temple at the center of the city. It's kind of a recreation of that. And this was the site of a lot of brutal fucking shit.
They'd like toss the shit down the stairs afterwards, right?
Well, we're going to talk about that now.
No?
No, we're going to talk about that now. You can go to the next slide there, TJ.
Next slide.
Next slide, please.
Woo!
So this is a preserved part of
This is pretty cool.
one of the buildings of the central
skulls
temple.
They were super edgy. I like that. I got a lot of skulls in my house too.
Now you'll like this about them. The Aztec were cannibals, TJ.
Sweet. That's so metal.
In his book, The Enigma of Aztec Sacrifice, Michael Harner discusses an ecological basis for Aztec sacrifice. He explains that the Aztec might have sacrificed humans for food to support their need for protein within a diet that was mainly reliant upon agricultural products because of a declining number of game within the region.
Oh, shit.
So here's kind of what would happen if you were involved in an Aztec sacrifice.
All right, rock on.
You would be led to the summit of the sacrificial pyramid. Captive men and women were habitually slaughtered, their hearts torn out, still beating, their bodies tumbled back down the bloodied steps
Hell
which
yeah.
they had just ascended. These corpses would then be carefully dismembered. You can kind of show a picture of some of that. Just a representation of some of this.
Toss them on down.
So they're just kind of thrown down, and then the people that are at the bottom of the stairs just kind of drag the corpses off and carefully cut them up to pieces. Men would dance in flayed skins. Different body parts were deliberately handed out to privileged Aztecs to be eaten. As Inga Clenenden points out...
So that they'd hand them off to the rich folk.
Yep. The seeming contrast between order and moral chaos between this formidable civilization that perceived barbarity was to baffle not only the first European soldiers, but many scholars of the region in later eras. So this is something that was very old by the time the Aztecs came around. They were certainly not the first society in this area to do these things.
So it was like a holdover kind of.
But they definitely reached heights that these other societies didn't in terms of the amount of people it's estimated
Check out
that they
Kill
put through this.
Fest. what years were these happening?
Come to Killfest.
I mean, it was still happening in the 1500s, so we're talking like 14th, 13th century.
Kill Fest 1491.
So it's difficult to account for the precise amount of human sacrifices that occurred. I think I got another picture of some human sacrifice going on. Yeah.
Oh, shit.
The estimation is difficult because indigenous accounts of numbers from the Aztec were often exaggerated as a tactic to intimidate potential war opponents. So they kind of knew that they were known for doing these sacrifices, so they may have fudged the numbers.
So that just like kind of scare the shit out of any enemies that might be lurking around. Yeah, we've killed fucking 50,000 people.
Well, it's way more than that. The actual
190,000.
estimations based on, archaeological evidence and mass graves that have been found, it's been indicated by some scholars that there might have been as many as 250,000 sacrificed victims offered by the Aztec Empire annually.
Whoa.
Damn.
So
So they were murdering motherfuckers like it was nobody's business.
I didn't pull a bunch about it, but they actually fought a series of wars against surrounding cultures called the Flower Wars that are kind of unique because they were literally wars fought to get captives to sacrifice at these pyramids. It was during a time of super drought in the region.
And they're like, fuck, we need to fucking up our sacrifice game so the gods really fucking favor the
These
shit
sacrifices were typically done to the rain god, and the reason for that is because of what we talked about earlier. Their whole diet subsisted on crops that needed a predictable cycle of rain.
So if it ain't raining, the
And
crops
so-
ain't growing and people are starving. So
They used all the might of how many people they had kind of collected in that huge swath of land and resources that they collected to literally raid other civilizations surrounding them for captives for the sole purpose of bringing them to these pyramids to sacrifice them to the rain god in hopes that the crops would survive the drought.
And I mean, also, good food source.
and also probably distracts the populace.
We're
from
killing even more. Look,
internal problems.
the politicians back then were just like, we're killing more people than ever. We're sacrificing more than ever.
Well-
what more does the rain god want?
I don't know about you guys, but this sounds like a utopia, but all utopias have to come to an end, unfortunately.
I guess so.
Uh-oh.
And this utopia's end was named Hernando Cortés.
Cortés.
The first European to visit Mexican territory was Francisco Hernandez, that not pictured here, Francisco Hernandez de Cordoba, who arrived in Yucatan from Cuba with 3 ships and about 100 men in early 1517. Cordoba's reports on his returns to Cuba prompted the Spanish governor there, Diego Velázquez, to send a larger force to Mexico under the command of this man, Hernán Cortés.
We all know the famous story about him. Of course, I mean, I'm sure you're going to talk about it anyways, but yeah.
Yep. There are a lot of stories about this guy. He was a pretty brutal dude.
Yeah, to say the least.
In March 1519, Cortez landed at the town of Tabasco, where he
Cool.
learned that the natives of the great Aztec civilization, so the natives of that little town said, hey, oh yeah, the Aztecs are the big dicks around here. That's who you're looking for. Then it was ruled by Moctezuma or Montezuma II. So if you want to go to the next, so here's a little example of what happened to the Aztec capital eventually, but not right away. In November 1519, Cortez and his men arrived in Tenochtitlan, where Montezuma and his people greeted them as honored guests, according to the Aztec custom, partially due to Cortez's physical resemblance to the light-skinned Quetzalcoatl, whose return was prophesied in Aztec legend. So there's
Man, he
evidence
should have
that
played that up.
there's evidence that Montezuma legitimately thought that Cortez and his men were gods that had been prophesied to return, and so he received them like with the utmost civility. Of course, the Aztecs had way superior numbers, but their weapons were super inferior to the metal steel weapons that the Spaniards brought. So Cortez was able to immediately take Montezuma and his whole entourage of lords hostage and gain control of the city. The Spaniards then murdered thousands of Aztec nobles during a ritual dance ceremony, and Montezuma died under uncertain circumstances while in custody.
Whoops. Accidentally slit his fucking throat.
Whoops.
Wouldn't you know it?
Accidentally killed your king, your god king, Montezuma.
He did. He did.
Of course,
By the
real-
way, have some smallpox, bitch.
Yeah, after as if the wholesale slaughter of the civilization that ensued after that wasn't enough. The English, I'm sorry, not the English, the Spanish, the Europeans
European?
brought diseases that the natives of on this side of the continental divide
Yeah.
had no
Immunity of any
immunity
kind,
to.
right? Because
Yeah, here, have some smallpox. Have some.
I mean, shit that ravaged our populations, but we fucking, the strong survived
well,
and all that.
Right.
certain mutations survive that made people more resilient to
Right.
these diseases.
But
Yeah.
they didn't have any of those resiliencies
no.
or immunities at all. So it
Right.
was just like, here you go.
So it was-
We're going to ravage you with disease now.
So it was smallpox, mumps, measles. They had no immunity to it. A Franciscan monk traveling with Cortez observed the impact of smallpox on the Aztecs. He's quoted as saying, "They died in heaps. In many places it happened that everyone in a house died, and as it was impossible to bury the great number of dead, they pulled down the houses over them so that their homes became their tombs." So they just started giving up on whole swaths of their civilization and just pulling the houses down on the sick.
Yeah, they're like, everyone in here is dead. Just knock it down. It'll serve as a grave.
So some 240,000 people were believed to have died in the city's conquest alone, which effectively ended the Aztec civilization. After his victory, Cortez razed Tenochtitlan and built Mexico City on its ruins, and it quickly became the premier European center in the New World.
Sweet.
So that's kind of the foundations of modern Mexico. We're not going to go through the entire history of Mexico, although we'll continue to talk about some historical things that have happened.
I mean, that's
So
just
basically, just to recap so
Yeah.
far.
That's a crazy fucking story.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, like a dude shows up with some soldiers, maybe how many soldiers do they have? Like a few hundred?
Yeah, a few hundred soldiers.
And just destroys an empire and's like, nope, they're all dead now. Let's build ourselves our city.
Yep.
I mean, that's just insane.
I mean, it wasn't immediate, but it was a long conquest. But yeah, it was just started with like, hey, we were accepted directly into the heart of your civilization, and we killed your emperor. Now
Yeah, just
we're in charge.
immediately. I mean, that's just an insane story. It's just not something you would normally hear. It's like, normally when these empires, like the Roman Empire, I mean, it took a long time. There's a lot of conflict. I mean, there's a lot of history there. This is like just very immediate. I mean, like, yeah, I don't think it happened overnight.
Right.
But you're saying, what it sounds like you're saying is it happened over a few years, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty immediate. I mean, it was a super important foothold for the Spanish, and Spanish is now the dominant language of Mexico, so that should tell you everything you need to know. They sent everybody immediately. So there's some wars that we can talk about here that kind of went to help build modern Mexico. We just talked about the rise of the Aztecs and the fall of the Aztecs.
Rise. Then the conquest.
And the conquest, we discussed that.
Yeah, 3 years.
It's got some nice titties up on that armor, too.
Independence from Spain. So in 1810, Mexico decided that Spain was no longer daddy. Father Miguel Hidalgo addressed his flock in the town of Dolores, telling them that the time had come to kick the Spanish usurpers out of town. Within hours, he had an undisciplined army of thousands of angry Indians and peasants following him. 10 bloody years later, independence was gained. So, kind of one of the many wars for independence that were fought on the soil there. The loss of Texas.
Yeah,
I know
took
you
that
guys will be
shit.
happy about this one.
How's that? Hey, nice Texas. Think we'll take it, motherfuckers.
Yeah, we just yanked Texas from them.
Boom.
For sure.
Actually, I wish we'd give it back. I don't really like Texas that much.
So the end of the colonial period, Spain began allowing English-speaking settlers from the United States into Texas.
Whoops.
Bad
big
idea.
mistake. Didn't you learn from what happened to the Aztecs?
Bad idea, y'all.
Let some white folks in.
Because they ain't never left since, and they ain't about to neither. Of course, conflict was inevitable, and the first shots were fired in the town of Gonzales on October 2nd, 1835. Mexican forces led by General Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna invaded the disputed region, crushed the defenders at the Battle of the Alamo in March of
Piece of shit.
1836. Santa Anna was soundly defeated by General Sam Houston.
Sam Houston, boy.
Remember the Alamo?
Yep, at the Battle of San Jacinto in April of 1836. However, Texas won its independence.
You're damn right it did.
So, yeah,
The
lost a
pastry
huge
war.
chunk of territory. Yeah, the pastry war.
I love pastries.
Yeah, this is something you would go to war for, right?
Damn
if somebody
right.
told you could no longer have pastries, you'd put one of
No
these
more
big feathered
donuts for
hats
you,
on.
fatty. It's like, all right, time to go to battle.
TJ would be dressed like this dude right in the middle of the painting. You put one of them big feathered hats on and a beautiful blue sash with
Yeah.
golden tassels, and he'd be like, all right, it's time.
It's time to fight. No one takes my Dunkin' Donuts, you son bitch.
So after independence, Mexico experienced severe growing pains as a nation. By 1838, Mexico owed significant debts to several countries, which you don't want to do, including France. The situation in Mexico was still chaotic, and it looked as if France might never see its money back, using a claim by a Frenchman that his bakery had been looted, hence the pastry war, as a pretext. I think it's just fun to know that countries have been using the bullshit pretext for war forever.
And
Yeah.
this man had all his pastries taken. War.
I
Yeah.
feel like
It's
more
war.
wars probably happen under a false pretense than
Than actual
from honest,
reason, yeah.
shit.
Well, France,
credible reasons.
France came to collect. They invaded
Then again, this
Mexico.
is France we're talking about here, so they might go to war over some pastries.
Yeah. So in 1838, France decided to go collect the debt. The French captured the port city of Veracruz, forced Mexico to pay all its debts. The war was a minor episode in Mexican history, however. It did mark the return of political prominence of Antonio Lopez de Santa Anna, who had been in disgrace since the loss of Texas. So Santa Anna was able to come back after, I guess, some successful stuff that happened with this. Then there was the time that they decided they were going to war with us, which
Big mistake.
Oops.
didn't turn out
How'd that
well.
turn out?
So by 1846,
How'd that go for you, Mexico?
the United
Eh?
States, having just taken a big chunk out of Mexico's ass already, was looking west, covetously eyeing Mexico's vast, sparsely populated territories, including California. And both countries were eager for a fight. The U.S. wanted to take over the resource-rich territories, while Mexico sought to avenge the loss of Texas. So that kind of hurt, but you can imagine. It'd be like somebody coming and annexing one of our states.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, when we took Texas, pretty much every Mexican looked at that as like a huge slight. We're obviously looking to expand as we're growing in power and people and influence.
Yeah, and we're looking to the west like, ooh.
Yeah, all that land over there should be ours too. And Mexico's like, fuck you. You ain't taking more of our land. You took Texas, you pieces of shit.
We'll see about that, Mexico.
So the Mexicans outnumbered the American invaders. However, the Americans had better weapons. Mexico still hasn't learned this fucking historical
Should have
lesson.
spent your time after the Aztecs perfecting them weapons.
And a far superior military strategy, this article says. In 1848, the Americans captured Mexico City and forced Mexico to surrender. The terms of the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo, which ended the war, required Mexico to hand over all of California, Nevada, Utah, parts of Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming. It's just the whole fucking...
Tika, how can you shit on me when in our very history we went to war, and look, there's a proven benefit, TJ. We went to war with Mexico, and what did we get? California, Nevada, Utah, Arizona, New Mexico, Wyoming, and Colorado.
Yeah.
That's a hell of a gain.
Yeah, so we came and took 2 chunks out of Mexico as we worked our way to the West Coast, and this was the one that solidified it. This is when sea to shining sea became a reality. So yeah,
That's like, man, we got ocean to ocean on this motherfucker.
yeah, we cut them off, and we're like, you can keep all this little, Mexico area, you can keep that, but
Yeah,
we're
I don't
taking
want that
everything all the
shit.
way to the West Coast.
So we just looked down. So basically, after we got the West, we kind of looked down, like, do we want that too? And we're like, maybe later.
Well, the border became
Maybe
the
later.
Rio Grande, TJ.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's like, you guys can have that south of the Rio Grande shit for now. For now, we might need it later. We'll let you know.
We'll call you.
Don't call us. We'll call you.
Before we move on from this one, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Mexican Alamo. So in the Mexican-American War, the Battle of Chapultepec was the last major engagement of the Mexican-American War. By latter months of 1847, the Mexican army was driven back into Mexico City. The last surviving forward outpost was Chapultepec Castle, which was garrisoned by a force of Mexican regulars, as well as a detachment of about 200 cadets. For 2 days, the Americans bombarded the fortress, after which the commander of the garrison ordered a withdrawal back to Mexico City. However, 6 cadets, all teenagers, famously refused the order and proceeded to fight to the death. The battle inspired 2 famous literary works, one of which later became the Marine Corps hymn. So, I pulled the Marine Corps hymn so you can hear, it starts with this,
So these
a reference to this. So, yeah, this is actually a monument to those 6, and you can zoom out, I think, a little of this one,
Yeah, I gotcha. Oh,
if you
No.
can.
Zoom, TJ,
Yeah, there
zoom.
you go. There you go.
there we go.
So, yeah, this is on the site of that battle, kind of the Mexican Alamo. These are their national heroes and shit that held the castle against the superior force. So, the Marine Corps hymn kind of starts with a
Gotcha.
reference to this.
From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we find our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marine.
Oh, man. All right. That's enough of that.
Yeah. I'm just, the whole time I'm hearing that, I'm just like picturing people ripping each other's guts out and shit.
Honor, yes, for honor.
Yeah, it's definitely a self-stroke and a weird robotic, like, we are one kind of, I don't know.
We
I don't
are
like military
a
shit.
force of violence that will destroy all your lands.
Look, they're talking about Tripoli there, TJ. Those were pirates.
Pirates, damn it.
Country did what we had to do.
Fucking goddamn pirates is what them's was, boy, right out.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right out, boy.
we skipped over a few Mexican wars, but that's okay.
Oh, we can go back. You want?
Yeah. I mean, well, let's at least cover the Mexican Revolution. Skip.
Yeah,
We
we
skip
have to
to
do
that.
that.
cares
Yeah,
about
here
it.
we go.
Mexico Revolution.
So Mexico achieved a level of peace and stability under the iron fist of dictator Porfirio Diaz, who ruled from 1876 to 1911. While the economy boomed, the poorest Mexicans did not benefit.
Oop, well, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, why does that sound familiar? This caused a simmering resentment that eventually exploded into the Mexican Revolution in 1910. Initially, the new president, Francisco Madero, was able to maintain order, but after he was ousted from power and executed in 1913, the country descended into utter chaos as ruthless warlords like Pancho Villa, Emiliano de Zapata, and Alvaro Obregón fought amongst themselves for control. So it just kind of became a warlord society for a while. Obregón eventually won the conflict. Stability was restored, but by then millions were dead or displaced. The economy was in ruins, and Mexico's development had been set back 40 years.
Great.
So the revolution didn't go too well.
No, it didn't.
Didn't really produce great results.
The revolutions always get subverted, TJ. Remember that.
And you know what? Let's just
Not
cover
the
that.
American Revolution.
Oh, yeah, definitely not.
Let's cover that last war, too, because this one's worth noting.
Cristero.
It's just what you think it is. In 1926, Mexicans who had apparently forgotten about the disastrous Reform War of 1857 once again went to war over religion. During the turmoil of the
Always
Mexican
a good
Revolution, a new constitution was adopted in 1917. It allowed for freedom of religion, separation of church and state, and a secular education. Ardent Catholics had bided their time, but by 1926 it had become evident that these provisions were not likely to be rescinded, and fighting began breaking out. So the Catholics went to war against their own country.
Secularly educate this motherfucker!
The rebels called themselves Cristeros because they were fighting for Christ. In 1929, an agreement was reached with the help of foreign diplomats. While the laws stayed on the books, certain provisions could go unenforced.
So they basically compromised on some of the
Yeah.
fucking laws.
Basically
All right,
like Mexican
all right.
Jim Crow. It
Calm the fuck down.
was like, all right, you secretly have control over all the education. We won't call it St. Anthony's, but it will be.
Bastards.
That other picture that you had up was actually a kind of a weird thing. It's an American cemetery in Mexico. The other one.
This one?
Next one.
Next. This here?
Yeah. So, fuck. Got a frog in my throat. Croaky. There we go. Holy shit.
Show it, motherfucker.
That needed some lubrication. The Mexico City National Cemetery is not, as its name implies, the state cemetery of the nation of Mexico. Instead, it's a cemetery established by the United States Congress a few years after the American victory in the Mexican-American War. So not only we're putting a monument in your country too, by the way.
Okay. Right.
We're burying our soldiers here, right on the soil where they died. This is ours right here. You can see it flies the American flag over it, and to this day, it's still maintained by the American government.
Wow.
It's a
Little
small
slice
cemetery.
of America.
It's only on about 1 acre of land, but over 800 American soldiers are interred there. Most of these are unknown and buried in a common grave. However, there are a few marked grave sites, including that of General James Slaughter, who had the coolest name in American history.
Especially for a general.
I know. Who served in both the Mexican-American War and the Civil War. So there you go.
At one point, he was probably a sergeant, too, so he
Yeah.
was literally Sergeant Slaughter for a while.
Pretty
That's
awesome.
pretty cool.
So, I know what you're here for, TJ.
Yeah. What am I here for?
Let's talk about something that Mexico has given to all of us. Each one in this room has benefited
Tacos?
from this. Oh, yeah. We're going to talk about it. Let's talk about Mexican food.
We're going to taco about it.
So, what are these?
Chili's.
Say thank you, Mexico.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Well, Mexico and Mesoamerican cultures.
Yeah, grow me
yeah.
some chilies, bitch.
Now, you can also thank the Portuguese if you want, because they aided in the spread of chili pepper plants.
All right.
Though the
Thanks, Portugal and Portuguese.
Yep. The earliest mention was in 1542 when a German herbalist, Leonhard Fuchs, described and illustrated several types of peppers. Though for people of Europe, the history of the pepper began in the late 15th century when Columbus brought the peppers home. There's archaeological evidence that peppers were in use since 5000 BC.
So they knew about this shit way before our asses.
Dude, they were way ahead of the game on these spices.
Yeah, man, they had the peppers. And you want to go to the next picture, TJ?
Ooh,
What's this?
Fuck
That's some
yeah.
salsa.
Salsa.
So salsa is pretty old. Salsa was sold in Aztec marketplaces.
What?
Yep.
I did not think it was ancient.
Salsa, the Spanish word for sauce, is uncooked and sometimes pureed until chunky, smooth, or chopped.
I like it chunky.
I like it smooth.
I like it chunky.
Large red tomatoes, tomatillos, chipotles, and avocados are found in modern salsa.
I don't like no avocado in my salsa.
And are the same core ingredients that have always been used.
So
in
it's pretty
salsa.
much always been
Yep.
used it that way, man. They don't fuck around. They just like salsa.
Salsa just fucking works, dude.
Salsa after salsa, like so, salsa ain't changed that much. They were eating pretty much the same shit
right.
we eat now in this.
Well,
yeah.
with your salsa, TJ, it's how fucking spicy it is, dude. That's really what determines a fucking salsa.
God damn, I want some salsa right now,
Oh,
man. What
man,
the
I'd
fuck?
kill
Some
for
fucking
salsa.
hot salsa.
I want
dude.
that salsa right there.
I
in the
know. I'd
picture.
fucking kill
That
both
looks
of you.
good
Just
as
have a
shit.
fucking lick of that salsa.
Dude, I would murder everybody that you've ever met
Yeah,
for a
damn
sniff
right.
of
I don't
that
blame
salsa.
you.
Oh, just a whiff of the odor of it. Well, zoom out of this one here too. Oh no, never mind. That's the whole picture.
They invented shit.
Well,
Well, I mean, fuck.
if that's what you think this is,
They
TJ, then you
invented
need to
the
go see a
turd.
doctor.
Looks like they invented fucking chocolate or some shit, dude.
This is indeed chocolate,
Nah, that's shit
and
right
you
there.
can thank the
That's my
Mexicans
toilet bowl
for
after
chocolate.
I eat that salsa.
Dude, no wonder Mexicans are almost as fat as Americans, man. They got some fucking awesome food.
Yep. So both the Mayans and the Aztecs believed that the cacao bean had magical or even divine properties.
They were right.
Yeah, they were correct.
Chocolate is fucking awesome.
They were used in sacred birth rituals, marriage rituals, death rituals.
All the major benchmarks of life.
Aztec sacrifice victims who felt too melancholy to join in ritual dancing before their death were often given a gourd of chocolate tinged with the blood of previous victims to cheer them up.
Aw, that's nice. See, they weren't total pricks about it. They're like, yeah, I know it sucks we gotta fucking rip your still beating heart out of your chest, but have some chocolate.
Now, sweetened chocolate didn't appear until Europeans discovered the Americas and sampled the native cuisine. Legend has it that Aztec King Montezuma welcomed the Spanish explorer, right, Hernando Cortez, with a banquet.
The explorer.
Yeah,
He's an explorer.
with a banquet that included some drinking chocolate, having tragically mistaken him for a reincarnated deity instead of a conquering invader. Chocolate didn't suit the foreigners' taste buds at first. Once described in his someone, I guess, one Spanish conquistador described it in his writings as a bitter drink for pigs.
A bitter drink for pigs.
But once it was mixed with honey or cane sugar, it quickly became popular throughout Spain.
Yeah, they're like, wait a minute. This shit, sweeten
Yeah,
this
one of
shit
these
up.
conquistadors came back to Spain. They're like, wait a minute, I'm going to make a fucking fortune off this shit.
Yep. Go to the next slide there, TJ. Oh, that's more chocolate.
More chocolate.
God damn, dude.
Like,
Looks
I
so
pulled two
fucking
just for
good.
you.
Oh, god damn.
What about the next one?
God. Oh,
fuck?
hell yeah,
What do you
motherfucking
see right here?
tacos.
I see pretty much what I just ate like 2 hours ago.
Now, I did
Me
not know
too.
this, but the taco is a mysterious food. Nobody really knows when the taco started or how. One origin story that I heard, and this is honest, I'm just being honest, there are just nothing but kind of legends about where the first taco came from.
That's awesome. I'm glad the origin story of the taco is unknown.
Yeah. But there is one theory. A theory that it dates from the 18th century and the silver mines in Mexico, because in those mines, the word taco referred to the little charges that they would use to excavate the ore. These were pieces of paper that they would wrap around gunpowder and insert into the holes they carved out in the rock face. When you think about it, a chicken taquito with a good hot sauce is really a lot like a stick of dynamite. The first references to the taco in any sort of archive or dictionary come from the end of the 19th century. And one of the first types of tacos described is called tacos de minero, or miner's tacos. So that is one of the strong current theories about the origin of the taco.
So the taco is a more recent invention, though.
Possibly. I mean, like I said, nobody knows how long it was around, but certainly it's kind of like the modern taco couldn't have come from the Aztecs. There was just not enough protein around before modern cattle and shit
Whoever
were brought
invented
over
the
here.
taco was a fucking genius.
But we do know one thing for sure. It came from Mexico.
Hell yeah. it
100%.
did.
Nobody
100.
disputes that. What about the next picture here, TJ? This one I know is
Burrito.
not. This is no ordinary burrito, TJ.
This is a 7-layer burrito.
Yep. This is one of the beautiful items that's no longer available on. No, actually,
The
TJ,
7-layer
this is
burrito's
not,
still around.
This is the grilled stuffed burrito
Oh, is it?
XXL, TJ.
Is it?
Yes.
It looks like
Damn.
a 7-layer burrito. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's only 5 layers there.
Yeah,
Yep.
dude. Wrong, TJ.
You can see the grill marks on the burrito shell. This is a special item for you. Now, of course, you know burritos came from Mexico, and it will probably delight you to know that also nobody quite knows where they started.
Hell yeah. Mystery food.
Now, there's apparently a lot of stories
About
that
the
have
burrito?
cropped up about how the burrito name came to be, and in the way, but there's little in the way of documented evidence to support any of them. One of the most popular stories is that, if you go to the next one here, TJ, this man, Juan Mendez from Chihuahua, Mexico. No, this is not actually him. I just picked a Mexican dude on a donkey.
Okay. I was
but
like, wait, that looks...
They said Juan Mendez from Chihuahua, Mexico, used a donkey to carry around his supplies for his food cart. To keep the food warm, he would wrap it up in a big homemade flour tortilla. First appearing in the early 1900s, right around the time of the Mexican Revolution, this quick, easy food item quickly became popular. Thus the theory that the concoction got its name because it was sold out of a donkey cart. A burro, by the way, is a donkey.
Yeah. Right.
So a burrito would be a little donkey. Nobody knows why they're called little donkeys.
Maybe they were originally made with donkey meat.
Maybe so.
Maybe. You don't know. You don't know, Paul. No one knows. It's a mystery. It's multiple choice.
Don't make yourself a jackass there, TJ.
But as we heard in the beginning, real Mexican food is kind of a fusion of a lot of different cultures. The biggest influence, of course, being Spanish culture. Spain, of course, occupied Mexico for a very long time, brought a lot of their food and tradition with them, and it's kind of fused into the more traditional Mexican cultural foods that we talked about to kind of have its own unique flavor. There's some French cooking that's found in some Mexican tradition, because the French were around for a while.
They owed a big debt to him and all that shit and fought that stupid war.
So Caribbean,
war.
South American tradition is here. French, West African, Portuguese. Slave trade brought a ton of different cuisines, and all of it kind of melded together to create the delicious wonderfulness that is Mexican food.
Motherfucker.
And how
fucking
can you
delicious.
not appreciate it? Now you'll remember, and this is not a slight against Scotty, there was no Canadian food section, because what Canadian food is worth mentioning? Am I right? None.
can't
Maybe
think
poutine.
Poutine's pretty good.
Poutine's
I mean-
okay.
I feel like they stole that from the French.
Maple
though.
syrup.
Yeah, they stole poutine
They
from the
do.
French.
They do a lot of cool stuff with maple. Honestly.
Says you.
Yeah.
I didn't see
Canadian
that.
sympathizer.
Yeah. Sorry.
But let's take a break from talking about food for a second.
Let's
Why?
And let's do what Scotty wants to do. Let's talk about el números.
El números.
The numbers.
Number.
So this is a current Mexican population.
It's going
Too
up.
damn many.
127 million people in Mexico. But the growth rate, as you can see, kind of steadily falling,
Good.
heading towards 1% yearly population growth rate.
Hey, you want to know why that is, Paul? Because they all coming here.
All them Mexicans come
They all
over to
come,
America,
they come here,
damn it.
take our job, Paul.
You're probably right.
No wonder that there's so few of them.
them. Boy.
This is live. Another Mexican
Yeah.
come and fucking invade our country, TJ.
This is why, dude. The growth rate's going down in Mexico because they're sending all their young, virile Mexican studs up north to fuck bored-ass fucking
You
farm
damn-
housewives.
You damn right.
Yeah. That's what's happening, dude. You can see it right here before your very eyes.
Hell yeah.
Oh, another one.
So,
Probably a Mexican hiding in this room right now.
what do you guys know about the Mexican economy?
Nothing.
I mean,
tell you what I
You
know.
have to have some, like, kind of conceptual idea. All
right, so I'll tell you-
Okay, guy goes around with a donkey cart, sells some tacos and burritos. Let's see
That
what
does
else.
happen a lot.
Legit. Why? I mean, I don't. Yeah. I don't, the only thing I know is it's not good. Is
What
it?
about your
It's like a
strawberries,
bad
TJ?
economy, isn't
Well,
it?
Where we get those strawberries from, TJ? A lot of times you get them from Mexico. You know those, TJ? A lot of manufacturing in Mexico now.
Is there?
Oh, yeah, there is.
There's some
boy.
strong negatives to the Mexican economy. I'm not going to...
They have a lot of monopolies in Mexico, too.
I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that things are all gravy in the Mexican economy, but I was kind of surprised to hear some of the things that I found. This was one thing that I found that was kind of startling to me. The blue here is Mexico,
Oh, damn.
and you can see that their GDP growth rate as of 2010, 2011 was outstripping ours. They had a deeper dip during the 2008 crisis that almost destroyed the world, but
Yeah.
they bounced back. Look at that
They
fucking
bounce
bounce
back
back.
better than us too,
You know what?
motherfucker.
It's clear why, Paul. Stole our jobs.
So Mexico has a free market economy in the $1 trillion class. It contains a mixture of modern and outmoded industry and agriculture, increasingly dominated by the private sector. Recent administrations have expanded competition in seaports, railroads, telecommunications, and electricity generation, natural gas distribution, and airports. Per capita income is roughly 1/3 of the U.S. Income distribution remains highly unequal. Since the implementation of the North American Free Trade Agreement, or NAFTA, in 1994, Mexico's share of U.S. imports has increased from 7% to 12%, and its share of Canadian imports has doubled to 5.5%.
Fuck. Okay.
So Mexico is kind of an emerging market heavyweight.
Yeah, like it's never really presented to us as any sort of powerhouse.
And I'm not saying, like, I'm not trying to take it out of fucking context here, but there's a lot of industry and a lot of money being generated in Mexico by Mexican industry and Mexican companies, both publicly and privately owned.
They better start working on them weapons because they don't want us to
they
come
build-
down there and be
they
like,
build a lot of,
we won't take it.
Well, there's a big controversy a lot of times because they build a lot of these smaller cars in Mexico now because obviously it's much cheaper to do that.
Of course. So Mexico's output was much less than its primary trading partner, the United States. Its 2018 GDP was worth $20.5 trillion. That was the United States GDP. I think the Mexican GDP is somewhere around 9.
It's around here.
But it was larger than its other North American free trade agreement partner, Canada. Canada's GDP is only 1.9 trillion.
Yeah, pitiful. It's
So I think Mexico's GDP was a tenth of the United States, so it's 2 trillion.
Wow.
Mexico's geographic size is equivalent to Saudi Arabia's, but it supports 5 times as many people while only exporting 25% of the amount of oil as Saudi Arabia.
Yeah. Well, because Mexico hasn't made. I mean, like a lot of these countries that are rich in oil make their economies so dependent on oil.
Right.
You know, Mexico obviously hasn't done that.
So their GDP growth rate is 2.2%, less than the U.S. rate of 2.9%, but once again, better than the Canadian rate of 2.1%. So Mexico beating Canada on some key economic indicators.
I mean, it's just a fact.
Let's read some of these here.
Okay.
So on the left is the United States. These are just some comparisons between
U.S. on
life.
the left, Mexico
Yep.
on the right.
So if you're in the United States, you're 20.2% less likely to be obese.
Because Mexicans are actually fatter than us.
Right.
Wait.
Wait,
No, you have that
no,
in
never
verse.
mind, I'm
It's
sorry.
in verse.
Right. Go back up.
In the United States, 36.2% of adults are obese. In Mexico, the number is 28.9% of people.
Well, why the fuck are you less likely to be obese on the U.S. side then?
I'm not sure. Oh, no, it says if you lived in Mexico instead of the United States, you would be 20.2%
Right,
less
okay,
likely to
got
be
it.
obese.
Oh, okay.
Got it. So all of this is Mexico.
Assuming you lived in Mexico compared to the United States.
Right. So yeah, you'd be less likely to be obese in
Live
Mexico.
less time.
You'd have half as many. You'd have 1.5 kids instead of just one. You'd live 4 years less. That's negligible.
Not much, you know.
Negligible.
This one's a little
Those are the
shameful.
worst 4 years of life.
2.7 times more likely to die during childbirth. We'll talk a little bit about Mexican healthcare coming up pretty soon.
100% more likely to die during infancy. That
What?
sucks.
How's it even possible?
In the United States, approximately 5.8 children die before they reach the age of 1. In Mexico, on the other hand, 11.6 children do.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of a scary statistic.
Yeah, it's
but
not
hey,
right.
you'd probably have a job if you're unemployed.
Yeah.
20% less likely to be unemployed. You'd spend 11% less on taxes.
Oh, damn. Yeah, I like that.
You would also
Six.
be 21.
6, dude.
Yeah, you'd make 66.6% less money.
Oh, fuck that.
Wow.
The number of the beast.
You'd be 21.9% less likely to have internet access.
Ew.
You'd spend 63.2% less on healthcare, which is
For only
pretty-
4 years of fucking life loss, too.
Yep. And you'd be 3.1 times more likely to live below the poverty line. And you'd see 53.2% less coastline,
Who cares?
too. I do. I like the coast.
Well, yeah, but you can always go to the coast if you want. It's not that hard.
So this is not the straight negative that a lot of people, I think, would think it would be moving to Mexico from the United States.
yeah, I mean, it's not that bad.
The
The main one that jumps out to me is just the money.
yeah, the money issue. There's a lot
There's
more
like
poverty.
it seems like there's a way more of a disparity in income, which is of course why there's so much manufacturing there now because they don't pay people shit.
Yeah, those jobs don't pay people very much.
There's like, yeah, here's your poverty.
I mean, far less than they would pay them in the United States, even.
right.
yes.
So let's talk a little bit about healthcare.
These
Fat
people fat, and they from Mexico. Therefore, all
Fat
Mexicans are fat.
people, fat people.
So, with almost 50% of Mexico's population considered to be poor,
That's really bad.
it's the malnourished that are becoming obese.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
Diabetes and cardiovascular illnesses are on the increase. Plus-size clothing fills the racks in stores, and Mexicans just keep eating. The crisis disproportionately hits the poor and the young. This is just due to the fact that it's expensive to buy fresh food, and it's very cheap to buy fast food and greasy food from taco
stalls and fast food
Plus,
joints.
their food is fucking amazing.
Right.
So
Can't blame them.
Weight-related diabetes claims the most Mexican lives. That's another thing too. Sugar in everything. Everything
God.
is sugary sweet. Everything is, all their drinks are filled to the brim with just sugar.
That's
sugar.
why people buy Mexican Cokes now instead of
Hell
buying
yeah,
American
dude. Oh,
Cokes,
so much
dude.
better. So much better. Oh my god.
It is.
So 1 in 6 Mexican adults suffers from weight-related diabetes.
Damn, that's fucking insane. 1 in 6.
According to these numbers, around 70% of Mexican adults are considered overweight, and 32.8% of those are obese.
Damn, they're like they're a contender for fattest country, like right there with us.
At the time that this was written, we seem to be trading back and forth with them.
Yeah, we're
at the
fucking
time
close.
that this article that I pulled for was written, which was not that long ago, the U.S. obesity rate was slightly below that, so Mexico was leading.
Oh damn!
Look
at
for
Mexico,
a little
man.
While. Our obesity rate at the time of this article was 31.8%.
People in this country, I have a plea to people right now: eat more. Are they gonna let Mexico beat us in being fat? I think fucking not.
Hell no.
Less than a month ago, the American Medical Association classified obesity as a disease, finally.
Wow.
So that was just a little
Duh.
factoid. Mexico blames increasingly industrialized agricultural production for a worldwide epidemic of both obesity and malnutrition. I kind of blame the fact that their income distribution is horrible, but whatever.
Well, and the fact that you get people to buy processed food as opposed to buying, like you said, like, it's like, you can buy a potato, but, potato chips, and you get people hooked on this shit. And, I mean, like, obviously the profit goes way up. You sell a fucking potato. A bag of potatoes is what, $3 or $4?
Right.
What's a bag of potato chips? $3 or $4 for fucking...
Dude, check this out.
Yep.
Fat man
12
drinks
ounces.
so many energy drinks he dies.
So for a while, the world's fattest man was in Mexico.
Whoa.
He was almost 1,000 pounds at his heaviest.
Whoa.
And as he went and got surgery in Mexico to get it fixed, and as he started to lose weight, he found he needed more energy, so he started pounding energy drinks. And the doctors think that's probably what killed him, because he was rapidly losing weight. So a quote here, as an obese man, although he was losing weight and was starting to move, exposing yourself to a stimulant can cause an irregular heartbeat, and that or a heart attack can lead to death. He drank more than 6 energy drinks a day, according to his family, and we believe it could be a lot more than
Holy
6.
shit, dude.
That's all much.
That's
So-
like what, fucking, depending on what he's drinking, that's like 300 or 400 milligrams of caffeine. I mean, that's like fucking 2,400 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah, his heart's. I mean, your heart's already being strained by rapid weight loss too.
When you have like, he had heart disease for sure, and if your heart like it twists and contracts to try to pump all that blood, I mean, he just had his heart going on overload. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's insane.
So if you would have told me that this story came out of America, I would have just immediately believed you. But this is, the same kind of crisis happening. Like I said, we just keep trading the fattest nation status back and forth, as far as I can see.
so it's a fucking race.
So it's a
war.
horse race. It really is. How fat can we get? How much fatter than Mexico can we be? How much less fat than Mexico
You know
can
what
we be?
Mexico needs to do? We have in this country we have a show called "My 600-Pound Life." Mexico needs to debut "My 700-Pound Life."
But
yeah.
really, I think Mexico's eventually going to overtake us on this one because there's really no culture of exercise at all in Mexico. It's not to say that there are no gyms. It's just like, you know how it exists here, this drive to go to the gym?
Yeah.
That does not exist in Mexico. And I looked up and learned that the Mexican metabolism is just naturally slower than most people's. So they burn calories at a lower rate, which means that they're far more susceptible to this than people of other genetic groups. So I think the Mexicans, in the long run, they're going to win this horse race.
Yeah, they got all the advantages in the world.
Yeah, they don't have any of the regulations. Nobody's trying to take sugar out of things. In fact, Mexico just seems to be dumping more sugar on its populace.
more sugar.
So they're heading in the direction to
Fuck we're gonna do, guys?
absolutely destroy us.
Okay,
here.
so here's what we got to do if we really want to win this one. I'm gonna fucking be the general on this. I'll tell you what we got to do.
Uh-huh.
So first of all these like diet things, they got to go. We got to fucking start upping our sugar intake.
Right. We got to bring Mexican Cokes and make those American Cokes
Yeah.
again.
In fact, we should
Real sugar.
We should fucking make our Cokes so fucking sweet that Mexican Coke tastes bitter in our mouths.
Yeah. Yeah, it tastes like piss water.
Do we need
Yeah.
to call on our great leader, the President of the United States?
I
to
want our
fucking-
Cokes so fucking sugary that it's basically like sludge.
Well, one thing too, TJ, is education. We gotta get kids young, so we gotta redo the food pyramid. We gotta put like junk food at the bottom of it.
Okay,
like,
so
you need this the
Here's
most.
what we're gonna do. We're gonna fucking let McDonald's and Burger King and Taco Bell and all the 10 most major fast food chains of America. We're gonna let them, with no oversight, rewrite the food pyramid.
I'm in favor of this.
We just need to rescind that law that they have to put calories next to shit.
Oh yeah. Well, you know what we'll do? We'll keep the calorie counters on products, but we'll allow companies to lie.
Or we'll just quietly change what a calorie is
Yeah.
and fudge the numbers. You know what I
Maybe
mean?
like so from now on, like an
So
Oreo
somebody will look
is
at
be
it-
like,
Dude, we'll have health meters though.
Yeah.
We'll have little cartoon characters, like a smiley face on a pack of Oreos, like good health choice.
yeah,
But you
we
know what
just
we need to do,
drop
too?
2 zeros off of the hundreds.
So-
A fucking Oreo is 2 calories now.
Damn,
yeah.
really?
We need to start
Give
encouraging
me one.
people to just use wheelchairs, whether they have problems or not.
Right.
And we need to start really pushing the idea that fat is like the sexiest thing. Like it's a status symbol to be fat again, and the fatter you are, the greater your status in society, and like really start stigmatizing skinniness.
I'm with it.
And like every time there's a skinny person around, like it's like okay to like openly mock and make fun of them and
Well, of
deride them and shit.
Why not?
You got to have that going on.
Dude, there could be reality shows around like how
We should
skinny-
even have, like, a few
Dude, no,
cases-
dude, TJ, have it, dude. Skinny people that have to get fat, like they have an intervention in someone's life. It's like Greg only weighs 155 pounds. He's emaciated. And they have like an intervention. They have like the fucking psychologist talk to him. They have put him on like
Yeah.
a 9,000
Look at how
calorie.
disgusting this is.
Yeah,
we
like-
can see your muscles.
Have like Dr. Phil being like, "Why won't you eat?" And all this shit.
Why won't you eat?
this big flabby ass Dr. Phil.
Jabba the Phil.
Have the fucking fat Olympics, dude. The slowest time instead of the fastest.
But, we're kind of looking at, we looked at some economic indicators that Mexico's beating Canada on.
Yeah.
But certainly, and I didn't know this really, certainly Canada's got Mexico beat in terms of providing universal health care. Am I wrong?
One would think.
Would you assume this?
I would assume it.
I'd assume.
Gotta
it.
be honest with you. I
I
don't give Canada
assume it
credit for
real
much,
good.
but I would think most Canadians have health coverage, probably more than Mexico.
Well, that may be true, but it is also not disputed that Mexico does have true universal health care.
Wow.
Does that blow your mind?
Not really.
It's true.
I mean, every
It
other
seems
country, every pretty much anytime I hear any country has it, other than us, I believe it because
Yeah.
it just makes way more sense. I don't know why we're such a stubborn, stupid fucking country.
So Mexico's Seguro Popular provides unemployed and poor Mexicans with access to preventative health care services such as diabetes screening and vaccinations, as well as treatment for chronic and severe illness. Enrollees don't have to pay a fee at the time of the doctor visit.
Dude, even a fucking society where 50% of the people are living in fucking poverty and economic inequality is even worse than it is here, even those motherfuckers get health care. What
Yep.
the fuck?
Come
on, America.
The poorest families pay nothing to join Seguro Popular.
Right.
And the rest pay a premium based on their income.
So you
So if you
basically-
make enough money to
you
pay
pay
for it,
based on how much money you have.
exactly.
Okay.
If you make enough to pay for it, you're charged, but it's way below the cost of our healthcare.
Right.
Which is one of the reasons why I didn't pull much about it, but Americans actually flock to Mexico for surgical procedures.
Yeah, they do.
And India too.
And medicines as well.
I mean, people buy prescription drugs on both sides of the border, Canada and Mexico, just because.
Prices they pay are way
I mean, the
less.
price. Does any country pay more than America for prescription drugs?
I don't think so.
I don't believe it.
There's countries that might be close to us, but I don't think there's anyone that surpasses us.
Yeah, it's ridiculous here. Same drugs.
So by 2013, the number of enrollees in Seguro Popular had grown to 55 million, helping the country achieve what's commonly recognized as basic universal health coverage.
Because yeah, if you're poor, that doesn't even cost
Right.
you any money, so you can go do it.
So researchers show that since the introduction of Seguro Popular in Mexico, some aspects of the country's health have improved. A study published this year in The Lancet found that Mexico's healthcare access and quality index rating rose from 49.2 in 1990 to 62.6 in 2015. This 100-point scale is a measure of citizens' access to quality healthcare, It's based on the death rates for 32 diseases that can be treated easily, including heart disease, diabetes, maternal and infant diseases, as well as diseases that can be prevented with vaccinations.
I mean, it's got to be a tremendous burden, by the way, on their universal healthcare system that there's so much sugar and so much diabetes. And
Oh,
so
much
much of that shit
obesity,
going on.
yeah.
I'm sure that there are public health fucking announcements all the time about these foods, but there also doesn't seem to be any moves by the government to restrain the public's access to these things or
Right.
address the looming poverty crisis that leads to,
I mean, it doesn't seem like it's looming. It seems like it's just there.
well, right, I mean, it's just looming over the whole issue.
Oh, I gotcha.
So the average for all countries was 53.7. So we're talking about the
HAQ.
the hack index for the United States rose from 73.7 to 81.3. So the United States has climbed as well in terms of access, mostly due to Obamacare.
Right. Which is being deconstructed.
So a report last year by the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development highlighted some of the specific successes of the Mexican healthcare system and also areas that still need work. In the past 10 years, the number of Mexicans who experienced impoverishing healthcare costs fell from 3.3% to 0.8%.
That's good.
A pretty vast reduction in people that were being bankrupted.
By medical bills.
Now, there's no similar rating listed for the United States, but a CDC survey found that in
Oh, it's horrible
2016,
here.
16% of Americans under 65 years old were parts of families that had trouble paying their medical bills.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So 16% to 0.8%, it's clear that Mexico is providing a broader spectrum of health services for the bottom part of
To
their
a bunch of
poor.
leeches.
What country isn't? I mean,
America.
Cuba's got better healthcare than we do.
China.
At least in that
China,
regard.
probably not. You're probably right.
I don't think Russia does that either.
So really, the big superpowers of the world are the ones dragging their
Yeah,
feet on
dragging
the shit.
ass on it.
I mean, I can't. I don't know specifically about Russia, but I know in China, I don't believe they have a universal healthcare system.
I don't know anything about Chinese healthcare, so
I know Taiwan does though.
Yep. So after Seguro Popular passed, between 2000 and 2013, infant mortality rates in Mexico dropped, falling 38% to 13 deaths per 1,000 live births. That is still over double the American rate of 5.9 deaths per live birth. So they've still got a lot of work to do there, but
yeah.
And we're actually our infancy deaths like those we're actually viewed high compared to most other countries. Like if you compare us to Canada, unfortunately, I mean they beat us there. The French, the United Kingdom.
If you were curious about healthcare in China, I'm just going to briefly let you know that healthcare in China consists of both public and private medical institutions and insurance programs. About 95% of the population has at least basic health insurance coverage. The Chinese government is working on providing affordable basic health care to all residents by 2020.
that's not bad.
Yeah, so they're at least on the path of that.
They're not. It's not a universal healthcare country, but
I mean, only 5% of your population, it's something like 60% of our population doesn't have basic health coverage or some shit.
It's insane. I mean, it's like I think it amounts to about 40 million people or something
Yeah.
that are underinsured or just don't have any coverage.
right. So China is doing better than us too in that regard. Just in case you were curious.
So, in spite of its gains in some areas, Mexico still struggles with other health-related issues. We talked a little bit about this before, but if you want to go to the next picture here, TJ.
Oh shit.
In 2012, 71%. So this is we're just trading back and forth with them. 2012, 71% of Mexicans were overweight or obese, up from 62% just 12 years earlier in 2000. In the United States, more than 70% of Americans are overweight or obese. Diabetes is also common amongst Mexicans, 16% of adults.
Is this kid eating like fucking fried Crisco and
He
fucking
looks
Cheetos
so happy about
on a
it, too.
bun?
I don't know what he's eating, but it looks delicious.
It's like he's eating fucking lard
Yeah,
with
it looks like
Cheetos
he's eating
sprinkled on top.
Cheetos.
Yeah. And
I want
on
it.
a
A
bun.
a Cheeto and lard sandwich.
Man, that's the best sandwich.
I mean, that kid's pretty fucking fat.
The
That
persistence
kid's
of,
already dead of diabetes.
Oh shit, my bad. I didn't realize.
So the life expectancy in Mexico is, if you were born in 2013, you're expected to be about 74 when you croak. In the United States, that same figure is 78. So once again, a gap of about 4 years in that stat. But I don't know, dude. It was kind of disheartening to me that, because I didn't know that Mexico had anything that would be considered to be true universal health care, but they do. Now, it's not the best that you can get in the world, but they have a
Obviously
basic
not.
safety net for the people that can't afford it.
Right. I mean, that's
Man,
That's something,
What a
right?
fucking brilliant idea. If only we had some other countries think of these ideas. It's just so crazy about because in particular, we're talking about the United States system. We're fine comparing to other countries when it's a negative, but a positive, and we say, oh well, the UK has this number of people with coverage, so 99.9% of people have basic coverage. Oh well, what about our system? And it's just astonishing that Mexico, as many problems, as much shit is talked about Mexico. Well, you just said 0.8% of people with crippling medical debt. In this country, 16% of families.
Garbage.
I just don't even know. Why are we making those comparisons?
Well, with healthcare out of the way, regrettably, we must talk about one of Mexico's great shames. Just kidding. Let's talk about what makes Mexico pretty fucking awesome and metal. Crime. Crime! Crime! El crimino. The narco-terrorista. Mexico is a hive of scum and villainy. In all the best ways that the Mos Eisley Bar was also a hive of scum and villainy. Entrepreneurship in Mexico is experiencing a boom, and I consider, even though it's against the law, these drug lords and cartels to be forms of entrepreneurs. And if that is the case, they're doing well. The problem is the better they do, the less interest there seems to be in investing in Mexico because the streets are so dangerous.
Right.
So here's a little graph showing the spike in crime and the effect it's had on investment. So outside investment in Mexico. Canceled growth plans up. Reduced working schedules up. Canceled distribution routes up. So less outside industry is investing in Mexico as a result of the crime that's going on there.
Which right now with the world economy, I mean, especially a few years ago when the economy was doing so well, you figured that would be a massive increase, not any sort of reduction.
Now, I don't mean to diminish in any way the massive criminality that's going on in Mexico. But there are some misconceptions about how safe and unsafe Mexico is. And I think a lot of people just kind of assume that Mexico in total is way more dangerous than...
Who the hell is this guy? Where the hell did he come from? Get out of here.
Well, yeah, he's next, I think. Yeah. There you go, TJ.
Here we go.
So this is just a little comparison between Naula and Mexico City. Just a big American town, about the same size as Mexico City. Well, no, Mexico City's probably way larger.
Way
bigger.
Well, we can pick a different city if you want.
That's fine. Whatever.
I just thought it would be fun to look at where we live.
I mean, I live right. We live.
City.
I know
You know
New
what?
Orleans, so
If we pick a big city, we'd pick probably New York City to compare to Mexico City.
So just kind of go down the list with me. Level of crime. New Orleans, high, 79.85 on the index. Mexico City, high, 77.4. A little more crime going on in NOLA. Crime increasing in the past 3 years, high. In New Orleans, higher in Mexico City, 63 to 79. Let's see. Worries home broken into and things stolen. In New Orleans, a high amount of that going on. Moderate amount of that going on in Mexico City.
but really not much of a difference.
Not a huge difference, but notable.
Yep.
Worries about being mugged or robbed.
About
Higher in
10
Mexico
points
City.
higher in Mexico City.
So it sounds like that's a big problem there. Car stolen. High.
higher in Mexico.
Higher in Mexico.
Yeah. Attacked.
Worries about being attacked.
About the same.
About the same. A little higher in Mexico City.
Yeah, marginal.
Worries about being insulted in public. Virtually equal.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting
A
insulted.
little higher in New Orleans, though.
Yeah, well, no, a little higher in Mexico City.
God damn, you can't even fucking read a graph, huh?
Am I? Well,
It's hard. It's kind of hard to track this, but I've been tracking it.
So, problem with
So it's
corruption and
61
bribery,
to 61
TJ.
worries about it being insulted.
Look, way more corrupt in Mexico, TJ. Very
Yeah.
high, 88.
I thought the 61 to 61 was attacked.
No, I'm talking about the bottom right there. It says
No,
problem
you're
with
wrong.
corruption.
You lost the plot, TJ.
and
I'm
bribery.
right.
Okay.
Huge difference there, guys.
Which one?
Problems with corruption and
Yeah.
bribery.
Being insulted is fucking this.
69.78 for New Orleans.
It's
and
higher. Worries about being
in
insulted
Mexico
is-
City,
is this
88.20.
calm. I was right. Fuck you.
Okay, fine. So worries about being insulted is equal.
Yeah. Well, no, it's higher in New Orleans.
Slightly.
It's about 6 points.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Worries about being subject to physical attack because of your skin color, super low in Mexico City.
Well, I mean, there's way more of a racially homogenized
Says you.
society, though.
Says you.
Okay.
Mexico City is a very cosmopolitan city, TJ.
The rest of them, it looks like they're all pretty equal in regards to most of that, except for corruption is actually way higher in Mexico, which is hard to believe because New Orleans is a
Well,
corrupt
that
fucking
is
city.
a lot due to the facts that we're going to talk about here for the next few minutes. Because there's an increasing kind of marriage between government and organized crime, particularly drug trafficking crime.
In Mexico.
And there's really a dude to blame for that.
Is it this dude?
He has a very awesome Mexican name. I wish I had 4 last names. This is Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo. So in the 1980s, he created and managed the first great narco corporation in Mexico that dealt primarily in distribution rather than production. So the fact that we share this giant border with Mexico made Mexico a very, very ripe spot to transmit illicit drugs from South America and Central America. Cocaine, marijuana, shit like that.
Yes.
And in the 80s, the war on drugs started, and America really started to go after what one of the main avenues was, which was through the Cuban island and through the Bahamas into Florida. That route became increasingly risky, with more and more loads being lost to anti-narcotics officers of the United States. So Mexico became a simple answer to that question. So they just started marching the drugs up, and this guy was the first guy to create a big organization of people to collect all them big fucking loads of drugs and start taking them into the U.S. to be sold and distributed. He and his lieutenants modernized, commercialized, and internationalized narco traffic.
What a hero.
They established cocaine routes from South America through Mexico to the USA and Europe that pertain today. So there are still routes that he and his associates carved out into these countries that are still being used openly today by narco.
If it fucking still works, why not?
Yeah, until they come up with countermeasures. I'm sure the wall is going to be what stops
Well,
it.
yeah, of course. After the wall is built,
That's going to be the end of that.
we're done.
No more drugs.
No more tunnels, nothing.
So another thing that he is known for doing is setting up a system of corruption and conviviality with the Mexican state that protects mutual interests on the principle of Pax Mafiosa, the mafia's peace.
Right.
So basically the idea is that the mafia, in this case narco traffickers, hold hands with the government and promise to keep the peace.
Yeah, it's like, we won't fuck shit up, and we'll kick a little money your way, and you just leave us alone. And you protect us.
Essentially,
and
yes.
Make sure that, nothing bad happens with us.
Oh, because obviously because they're in bed with each other, they're gonna naturally want to protect their interests.
Right.
So
this guy was eventually caught. He actually was sentenced for the killing of an American narcotics agent named Enrique Kiki Camarena, who I think he's the next picture here. Yeah. His undercover work led to the seizure and destruction of huge marijuana plantations in Mexico that wounded the Guadalajara cartel. He was kidnapped off a street in Guadalajara on February 7th, 1985. So,
Just a scant few days before my birth.
well, there you go.
Maybe I'm the reincarnation.
And
Yeah,
if you guys
maybe
have,
so.
if anyone's watched the show Narcos, they actually do a dramatization of these events.
You guys
I
give
like
me a
the-
sec. I'm going to go grab something to drink.
Yeah,
I
no
got
problem.
cotton mouth syndrome.
Cottonmouth syndrome. I'll play some Mexican music in Paul's absence.
Feel more upbeat already.
Yeah.
Dude, Paul really loves fucking Mexico, dude. He just loves it.
I think Paul's a Mexican spy sent here to
You know what?
infiltrate the minds of impressionable young
I
Americans.
mean, Paul told me, and has told us many times that Madeira is mainly
Madeira.
Mexican.
It doesn't even sound American. Madeira.
You know, Paul could be a plant.
I think he is. I think I've had all the evidence I need of that.
You know, Paul understands a lot of Spanish. I mean, that's kind of strange, don't you think, TJ?
Yeah.
That someone that is a red-blooded American would speak a fucking word of Spanish.
That's true, other than taco and burrito. You know?
I mean, it doesn't mean I speak Spanish. I just know those are Mexican
Right.
words that I have to use when I want those things. And
We
I
should
mean,
come up
look,
with American words for those things.
I don't know about that. That'd be fucking difficult.
Yeah, we just call it like a crispy folding sandwich or something. You know?
A crispy folder.
Yeah.
What about burrito? What are we gonna call that?
We can call it like I don't know,
It's kind of like a meat pie.
Are you guys
flour
gonna take-
blanket.
Are you
Oh,
going to
flour-
take over Mexico now?
No, we're just kind of, we were disgusted by your
Apparently
your
love
obvious fucking Mexican spy status.
and your sympathies towards Mexico.
and we
I don't
started
know what you're talking
We
about.
started thinking about
your origin story, Madeira,
we think it's-
Madeira.
I mean, we were just like, man, why do we even speak a word of this language? I mean, we want to keep the food, but we were trying to just come up with like English ways of describing the food. So it's like you call it like it's kind of like a meat pie, a burrito. You can call it.
Yeah.
I don't know. You call it like a fucking.
Try Pirelli's Miracle Elixir.
Dude, call it an American pie, TJ.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Call it a freedom blanket.
Yeah, something like that, dude.
You know?
We'll come up with something.
So, let's look a little bit. I pulled an article about some of the most brutal execution methods that these drug lords use
Oh, cool.
against the people that have been perceived to cross them.
Get out of here. No one wants this.
Shut up, Ranker.
I don't want it. Get out of here.
No thanks.
Okay, beheading by chainsaw.
So, yeah, you want to read some of these, CJ?
Sure. This guy does look like a head that you'd want to cut off with a chainsaw, you know?
Well, he was the one doing the
Oh, okay.
chainsaw.
Well, maybe they should do that to him, as
That's
a
El
reprisal.
Chapo, dude.
El Chapo.
Yep.
In 2017, what's that mean? The chapstick or the
El
2017?
Chapo.
The Mexican government extradited Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, whatever.
Guzman.
Guzman.
Guzzleman.
I'm white, Paul. A known member
See?
of the Sinaloa.
Cena. Okay, never mind.
You
I'll read
you
it.
should probably do it.
Sorry, I forgot you can't do Mexican
I don't
stuff.
fucking.
It's okay.
I don't speak no Mexican, Paul.
So the Sinaloa cartel.
Sinaloa.
To the U.S., Guzman faces charges of
I think it's
murder.
pronounced Guzman, Paul.
It's not Guzman.
I'm pretty sure it's Guzman.
Guzzleman.
Yeah, the accent mark over the A means you give it the A.
Guzman.
Guzman. Yeah. Faces charges of murder and laundering funds. New York prosecutors have evidence against the alleged cartel leader, including YouTube videos in which Guzman systematically harmed and then removed the heads of rival gang members. In 2010, in a video, Guzman used a chainsaw against Hugo Hernandez, reportedly to send a message indicating that he would use aggression against anyone who involves law enforcement with the cartel's enterprises. So,
Literally, I'm gonna cut off your head with a fucking
Right.
chainsaw if you fuck with me.
but the Russians do that shit.
Ain't nothing.
What about the stew?
The stew, damn it.
2013, Mexican Marines apprehended Miguel Angel Trevino Morales, the alleged cartel leader of Los Zetas. Authorities believe Morales is responsible for at least 72 slayings in the 2010 San Fernando massacre, also known as Z40. Cool gang name. Would you take a gang name like if somebody was like, yo, TJ, we about to start calling you Z40, homie? Would you be like, nah?
I don't know. It sounds like an energy drink.
Z40 Extreme Energy.
I'd be down for Z40, honestly.
It's not bad.
Morales reportedly executed perceived enemies of the cartel using the method known as the stew or el guiso. This execution style entails taking live victims, putting them in a 55-gallon drum, and then boil them, douse them in a flammable liquid, and set them on fire.
Damn.
So there you go.
Keep you warm on a cold night, though.
The stew.
That's what you got to do, man. Keep order.
Does that sound good to you, TJ?
Keep
You wanna
order
be
among the
stew?
chaos, dude.
Face peeling.
That's nothing.
Ugh. Who
Who doesn't? I mean, back in the 70s, we used to peel people's faces all the time. Isn't it a big
Right.
deal?
Reportedly, after he beheaded that guy, you remember El Chapo, the chainsaw beheading?
Oh, he graduated up to.
Well, no,
face
that
peeling?
same dude, he peeled that dude's face off and put it on a soccer ball.
Oh.
Mexican authorities recovered that same ball from the footsteps of City Hall in Ciudad Juarez.
They kind of stole that in the new Child's Play, honestly.
Did they?
They did it. They had a guy's head
Oh yeah, that's right.
pinned to a fucking
The asshole
watermelon.
stepdad kind of
Yeah.
figure in the movie.
Well, thank El Chapo
Cool.
for that awesome contribution. Feeding to lions and tigers. I mean, this has been used before in history, but
Romans kind of like this.
these dudes brought it back. Oh, dude, he was Z3.
What's with all the
I don't know. I guess maybe the lower your number, the better you are or something.
MS-13? You know, like what's with the Mexicans seem to like this? Like, how about some letters and then a number of some kind? You know,
Well, MS stands for Mara Salvatrucha.
right?
That means army ants. So that
And
one
13 is
and
what?
13 is, I don't know,
Yeah.
whatever.
So I'm saying they like that as a name scheme.
They did that in my town too. The Crips and the Bloods were 13, or like the Crips were 13, the Bloods were 14. That was like what they would tag on the walls.
Okay.
North versus South. Norteños versus Soreños.
Acid baths. That's always fun.
At least they died clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just dissolve you.
This dude was known as the soup maker. And you can guess why.
The procedure to dispose of the corpses was to fill a drum with 200 liters of water and then put 2 sacks of caustic soda, put it over a fire, and when it started to boil, put in the bodies. Cool.
Yeah, like a recipe.
Dismemberment. Basic, just your basic dismemberer right here. This is, what is that? Marciano Chano Milan Vasquez?
Yeah.
Vaquez.
Vasquez? 10
So,
counts of murder, drug trafficking, alleged hitman for Los Zetas cartel. Fucking like to chop people up, I guess.
there you go.
That's not so
And
bad.
of course, the old-fashioned shoot him in the back of the head.
Pussy shit. Hanging. Yeah, we know about hanging. Yeah, whatever. What's the best?
What do you mean the best?
What's the best one?
The soup.
Yeah, I think you're right.
The stew, man.
The stew. Yeah, not the soup.
Not the soup, the stew.
The soup is the acid.
Stew.
Yeah, that's just disposing of the bodies.
Yeah, it's like,
the
that's,
stew.
This
That
is
one's-
this
that
is
one's rough.
this is the one with the intimidation factor,
I mean, the
Right.
chainsaw to the head is pretty bad, too.
Well, leave him up as we talk about this next part here.
All right.
So Mexico posted its highest homicide rate in decades, with the government reporting Sunday that there were 29,168 murders in 2017, a 27% increase over 2016.
That's pretty bad.
The number is the highest since comparable records began being kept in 1997. So it's like off the chain right now bad.
That's 2017.
Mexico
what
is
has it
very
done
dangerous.
since then?
Well, you can read a little bit of that
Oh, okay.
for me, please.
Where is that?
Let's see.
Mexico security analyst
Yep.
Alejandro Hope said Mexico's murder rate is probably higher than the Interior Department statistics show, because the department does the per 100,000 count based on the number of murder investigations, not the number of victims, and a killing may result in more than one victim. Hope says the real homicide rate is probably around 24 per 100,000. Despite President Donald Trump's tweet last week claiming Mexico is now rated number 1 most dangerous country in the world, I don't know if that was last week compared to when this was written, probably, or was that actually last week?
I don't know.
There are several nations in Latin America with higher rates, so not even the worst. Brazil and Colombia had about 27 homicides per 100,000 inhabitants, still well below Venezuela's 57 per 100,000. According to World Bank report, El Salvador reported a rate of 60.8 per 100,000 in 2017. Several U.S. cities, including St. Louis, Baltimore, New Orleans, and Detroit, also had higher rates. Good. Yay, New Orleans.
Good
for
job, New
us.
Orleans.
Good for us, man. What is this? This is
So,
the Pacific Coast
yeah,
state of Colima.
this is like a big
Colima?
resort part of that area, but
they
it's
had-
the area back there in them hills that you want to stay out of.
I gotcha. So basically, the front so if you stay in the resort area, it's real nice.
Yeah,
But there is a seedy underbelly the further back you go from the coast.
yes.
And the murder rate there is pretty astonishing, about 93.6 murders per 100,000 inhabitants. So obviously a much more dangerous place than most places you've ever been in your life, probably.
Right.
Baja California, sir, home to the twin resort towns of Los Cabos, had a rate of 69.1. Guerrero, home to the resort town of Acapulco, had a rate of 64.2.
Crazy.
So here's a list of cities that you want to avoid in Mexico. This is the 12 most dangerous cities in Mexico to avoid at all costs. Well, not all costs, because, there's some instances. Let's see. So Mazatlan.
39. So Mazatlan is actually a tourist city, or used to be. A jumping off point for, like, excursions into the jungle to see Incan pyramids and shit.
Oh, cool.
No more, though.
39.32 homicides per 100,000 people.
Too bad.
It doesn't really seem that bad, but
That's pretty high.
compared to some of the other ones we've looked at. Reynosa.
Yep.
Many people travel through Reynosa, Mexico to get to the U.S. Okay, so this is a path to the U.S. here, but not, pretty high. Let's just
Yeah, go down to see what the top is.
I want to see what the top ones are. Oh, Chihuahua.
Chihuahua.
Yeah,
Chihuahua
49.48.
That's
Ciudad
pretty bad.
Juarez.
Right across
56.
from, El Paso.
Culiacan.
70.
Victoria. 83.
La
La
Paz.
Paz. Which means the peace, by the way.
Peace. Is that ironic?
That's crazy.
Tijuana. I've actually been to Tijuana
Well, look at that number.
very briefly.
Whoa.
100 homicides.
Nice even 100. Acapulco 106. And Los Cabos
Could imagine Los
111.33.
Cabos would be the highest one on this list, dude.
Finally, Los Cabos. Yeah, we actually read a different statistic about Los Cabos a little earlier, but this is
Yep.
obviously it's worse here. Finally, Los Cabos ranks at the very top of the list as the most dangerous city in Mexico and around the world. In 2017, the city had a population of 328,245 people and reported a total of 365 homicides. It's basically a homicide a day. Situated at the far tip of the Baja California Sur Peninsula, Los Cabos remains a major tourist hotspot, but as the New York Times notes, a Department of State travel warning reveals that even gorgeous beach towns aren't immune to the wave of violence caused by rival cartels battling over territory. Recent shootings in Los Cabos, Cancun, and Playa del Carmen indicate those conflicts have surfaced in popular beach destinations, although the statement notes that tourists have not been targets. Well, why would they be? The Times explains, resort towns don't typically see the same level of violence and crime reported in border regions or in areas along traffic routes, but Los Cabos may be the unfortunate exception to that rule.
I don't think there's any
There's
maybe about
there's
it.
No maybe there.
Well, I
Seems
think
like
it bears
certainly
mentioning.
is.
And I think that this is actually oddly relevant today more than it would have been any other day. TJ has been reading for me for a minute, and that is because I am burping up the Taco Bell that I ate right before the show.
Oh, damn, Paul.
Life is not good in Paul Town right now.
You know
and
what,
I have
Paul?
Mexico to thank for that.
Awesome.
So thank you, Mexico, for making me eat a taco.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
I mean, really, that's like a bastardization of Mexico and America.
They done did me dirty at your Taco Bell, TJ.
They done did me dirty.
Either that or this is
at
just the body's
Taco
natural
Bell.
You
reaction.
just
to
got
Taco
some
Bell.
weak bubble guts, boy.
Yeah,
I
I
eat
mean-
that Taco Bell every day, and
I
I'm
ate-
just fine.
I actually went to Taco Bell last
Dude, I'm
night.
burping
'cause
up
I
my
didn't feel
Taco
like
Bell
cooking.
fierce.
So I fucking had 3 tacos and 2 burritos.
How do you feel?
And I'm fine. Iron stomach, iron will.
But that's a broad look at Mexico, right? We
Yeah,
looked at their
Pretty
culture.
broad.
We looked at their food,
Look
their
at the
output
history.
as a society, their position as kind of a new economy that's ascendant. The crime.
I mean, look, the crime is bad.
Beautiful, tasty crime.
I mean, the only thing that Canada is better than Mexico is crime. That's it. That's the only thing I heard in this episode. I mean, I guess they have less crime, but I mean, look, they're Canadians. They want to leave that
You guys
country anyways.
remember we covered those like hot chick assassins.
yeah, they're
Yeah,
all from
yeah.
Mexico.
So they're, even the crime is churning out some
Yeah,
cool
the
shit.
crime is pretty neat there. These cartels, man, they ain't so happy.
You
They
wanna
ain't
be-
half bad.
Do you
might not
want to
be-
go become a Mexican, TJ? You
No.
willing to roll that dice?
Nah, I don't
No?
want to.
Oh, damn. I
I'm
was hoping
happy
you'd
to
say-
Too much work,
I'm
dude.
happy to eat their food and enjoy the drugs that are brought to me through their cartel violence.
Well,
so,
I'm sorry to say then, TJ, that I will have to execute you
cool.
because
Damn.
you are right. I am a federale.
Federale. Oh,
Born
shit.
and bred agent of the
Scotty,
Mexican government.
kill Paul really
Here
quick
to
for me.
recruit or kill every media outlet.
I'm sorry,
that
he
I
already
can
bribed
invest.
me, TJ.
Kill
Oh,
Scotty.
Scotty, it was a matter of this.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, I was already paid, TJ. I'm sorry.
Well, how
man.
come I can't pay
Well,
you?
someone's got to be. Look, it's the way they operate, TJ. Someone's got to die.
How do we say in Mexico?
Kill Zandalar, dude.
Sorry, senor. Your share went to him.
Kill Zandalar.
No, Zandalar is an agent
He's a
too.
good fall guy.
No,
he's
you
an
can-
agent too?
You can
damn it.
you can break kayfabe now, Zandalar.
Oh, man.
You're coming to Mexico, TJ.
Fuck, I don't want to.
Play the song.
Ugh, all right.
Play the song.
Okay. You want me to play? Okay.
Play the song. You're coming with us, TJ. Never to return to a land of crime and gluttony, where you are guaranteed health care and almost guaranteed to be shot.
But at least there be
Bang, bang, TJ.
someone to
bang,
fucking pay
bang.
my bills. My fucking getting shot bills.
Yeah, when you get shot, if you survive and go to the hospital, don't worry about paying for that bill, TJ.
That's good, at least. Take
And-
some solace in that.
Always a silver lining.